Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 13 of Honor Radio. And today it is our pleasure to have a man that actually I'm proud to say has been a friend of mine since around 2010 when we started the Honor Bowl, Joe Davidson. He is a senior staff writer, columnist for Sacramento Bee, highly respected in the sports world. His Twitter following is over 27,000 people. The guy just is connected when it comes to sports. And Joe, it is our honor to have you on Honor Radio. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Mark, Rick, good to see you. And Mark, I don't know how you do it. You don't age. The little goatee kind of changes colors. And I remember when we first started talking, 2010 or so, and you had this idea of the Honor Bowl, and hey, we're all ears, and it rolls on, it rages on for all the right themes and all the right messages. And we talk about this whole coronavirus era right now, and who are our heroes? Well, the Honor Bowl has honored a lot of heroes, and I'm doing some more extra stories these days. We don't have a lot of sports going on, so we're digging in and talking to other heroes of note, people on the front lines in medicine, doctors, nurses, who are just trying to do the best they can to do their part in the coronavirus concern. And this is something that is totally new for any of us, me, you, Rick, all the people our age, or even older, have not experienced anything like this. So it's interesting times. Good to join you guys.
Thank you, Joe. And let me just tell our listeners that are going to be listening to this: if you see the skipping of Joe's language, it's because of our wireless connections. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It really depends on what's going on with Zoom and our wireless connection. So just know that it's not anything technically wrong with what we're trying to do with this podcast. So, Joe, let's just jump right into this. You got your finger on the pulse of so many things with, the NBA, the NFL, college sports, but more than ever, your prep sports following is massive. What are you hearing out there when it comes to what high schools are doing, thinking, when it comes to this virus and what it's doing to them? Tell us what you're hearing.
Well, very little of anything going on. And if we go backwards just a couple of weeks, the Oak Grove Unified School District probably was on the cutting edge and said, we're going to close down schools, 63,000 students, the largest school district in Northern California, and people were in an uproar not because of the, why are you thinking this? Is because we couldn't comprehend what was going on. I think a lot of us still aren't sure what's going on with the coronavirus and how serious it is. And it's a learn by minute type of thing. And so what we do know, Mark and Rick, is that high school sports, a fabric, a foundation for everybody anywhere, is on hold. And not just high school sports, and none of this is to be insensitive of what's going on out there, but normalcy is on hold. We're so used to going 100 miles an hour that we're all now just inching along. And high school proms, and even Governor Newsom said just the other day that school may not resume on campus. That's probably more likely as each day goes by. Mm-hmm. A lot of online instruction, whether it's the preschool kids or all the way through high school, junior college, four-year colleges across the land. Everybody's trying to do this be safe, be smart, and stay away type of mandate, social distancing. And so here it is, looking outside, and what we should be normally worried about these times, this time of year, is rainouts for baseball and softball and track and field. Instead, I'm talking to coaches and executives and administrators and superintendents on, how do they get any semblance of normalcy back? And to go on that theme, I got a story running any day. I caught up to some of the, you guys will recognize these names, some of the longtime area coaches, and how they are dealing with this separation because they're so used to being with their student athletes, and they're also of at-risk age. People like Guy Anderson, Mike Albergini, Frank Negri, Mary Jo Truesdale, Dave Hoskins. And each one of them said, hey, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm concerned. Guy Anderson is 87 years old. He has redefined aging. Longtime baseball coach at Cordova High School, last 5 years, an assistant coach at Capital Christian. And asked Guy, I said, anything in your life that you could relate to. And he said when he was a little boy in the 1930s growing up in Napa, that his parents told him, and they were talking with the doctors, that he had such bad pneumonia that he wasn't expected to live. He, at that age, at 5 or 6, doesn't really remember the hysteria and concern like his parents did. But a few years older, during World War II, 1941 through 45, he remembers when California houses and people across the country close your blinds for the war safety in case it was that concerning. But things still went on. This is different because everything's on hold. People are staying at home and essential businesses are open, but otherwise everything else is on hold. So for somebody like Guy Anderson at 87 years old, he's never experienced anything like this. And I don't know if any of us ever will. Let's hope we don't.
Yeah. I got to tell you, buddy, I forgot about the older coaches, right? And the fact that you are, you're looking into them and seeing what they're doing. I mean, they've definitely seen a lot more than we have. And, the Alberghinis and Mr. Anderson and Coach Anderson and, those guys definitely have been legends in our sporting world, right? And I'm glad that
they shaped a lot of lives. And Mark, and what do student athletes do in a time of crisis? They reach out to their coaches.
Yeah.
Coach, what do we do? How do we do?
Yeah.
They don't have answers. Mark, you as a coach back in the day, and you as a parent all the time, forever, and you too, Ricky. What do you tell, your sons or grandsons? You always want to be out and be active and be healthy and run around. Well, I always say, well, be active in your yard or in the living room. So it's when educators are at a loss, then everybody's at a loss. But optimism is in everybody's voice. I think we have to be optimistic. In my line of work of everyday news, turn around, a lot of concern, but a lot of optimism too. And I think that's the right way to approach it.
Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful to hear that. It's really funny that I'm hearing you say that, because the other day my son posted a video, my Marine son, he lives over here in Sacramento, and he was showing his kid how to mow the lawn, right? And today they posted a video of them doing PE with their kids because they're homeschooling now, right? And it's just those, and it gives my wife and I just, we just smile because there's some beautiful moments happening now from people that I follow all over the nation, both in work and real estate and whatever. There's just some really touching things going on. We saw what happened in Italy with the guy going out there with the piano and everybody started singing. And there's just some beautiful stuff coming out. Joe, tell me about, I want to dive a little farther into the championship games that got canceled. I mean, there was a moment there where, Sheldon wasn't able to compete in the state championship, and then all of a sudden they were able to compete, and then everything was shut down. You tell us a little bit more about what happened through that, and is everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's okay. We'll go in that order. People were quite shaken up and down the state and right here in Sacramento when we were still trying to learn what the coronavirus was, and a lot of people thought maybe it was just hysteria and wasn't true. We all know that's not true now. And, when high school teams are told, hey, your season may be over or it is over, people react. And I think now people look back and say, hey, geez, you live for the moment. And how fast things change, it was just going in a rush. And so the Sheldon High School basketball team of the Oak Grove Unified has been a NorCal powerhouse the last few years, #1 ranked team in Northern California each of the last 3 seasons, had a lot to play for, was looking to become the first team in Northern California to repeat as NorCal Open Division champions. The Open Division, much like football, Mark, as you know, is the highest classification. Good kids, good citizens, good scholars, just good people with a great support cast and a good school. And they wanted to play out their season. And I was, hey, let them play out their season. If it's deemed safe, let the Sheldon Huskies finish it out. And then the game gets put back on. Sheldon goes down to Dublin because Cosumnes River College in that district was closed down for the concern of the spread of the virus. And then wins a game in the final frantic seconds as if it's a state championship game. And it was the last time those teams played this season. So they got to finish on a high note. But, Mark, this thing was going so fast that, the district still had to clear any activities the next day to see if the season can continue. Is it overbearing? Is it too much? Well, in hindsight, not at all. At the moment, people, we didn't know what to think. And so then the game was supposed to be at Bishop O'Dowd in Oakland and East Bay, but then they had their mandates to slow everything down. So now the game's going to be at Cosumnes River College in South Sacramento. And then Ron Nichetti and the executive board for the state CIF had to make the tough decision, the right decision, to pull the plug on all of it. And, a lot of people misread that, Mark and Rick. They think, well, that's the CIF just out there to hose kids. Not true. If you want to believe your conspiracy theories, that's one thing. But, the CIF has to – if the NBA is suspending a season, Major League Baseball is postponing a season, Major League Soccer is suspending a season, then high schools had better fall in line, and they did. And when March Madness was supposed to be held at Golden One just days after the state CIF finals, and that is all canceled, then everything is going to get canceled. So it's just, you want high school kids to have a happy, positive memory. I think for the graduating class of 2020, you talk about getting thrust into the real world in a heartbeat. It's happening. And there are stories now, Mark, where off the sports grid where there's like 19,000 nurses who want to have their graduation pushed up to now so they could get on the front line. They're ready to get to work and help out. And that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But those are the kind of stories we're tracking now because we don't have baseball season. We don't have, even locals getting ready for the NFL draft have been put on hold. I think, the draft is still going to be held, the NFL draft, but it's sounding like it's not going to be held in Las Vegas. And so we're not going to have a big crowd. And the economic hit with March Madness not being here in Sacramento is a major hit. I feel, Mark, I'm sure you and Rick do too, we all feel for the small business owner or the people who work in the service industry or people who work at a bar in a restaurant and they're out of work. So everybody's inconvenienced. A lot of people are understandably concerned and curious of what's going to happen next. It used to be kind of a cliche where, don't take any day for granted. Well, now we don't even know what's going to happen. We don't know what the next news conference is going to hold. For the student athletes who are all on hold, including those in junior college and college, just thank goodness for social media means so they can still be in contact, but they could be real advocates and role models right now in passing the word to their friends and their peers through social media. Stay at home, don't do social gathering. Governors across the country are really upset with people flocking and flooding out to the beaches and to parks. It's nice to get out to the beach, but right now is not the right time. So, let's lean on our student athletes to hey, let's listen to what the experts have to say. That's the medical facility.
Continue to be the leaders.
Exactly right. And that's what their role is right now as a student athlete and as a coach is listen to those who know more about this virus than we do. And if they stay home, if they say stay home, then stay home. They say avoid social contact of any sort, including workouts, then listen to that. It's not going to last forever. It could be over soon, but the more people go out and engage with others, it could just keep pushing it further and further back. We all want normalcy, guys. We all want to be we want to have this podcast where we're talking about, hey, what do you think of high school football and some of the best players and teams and coaches, and we'll have that. But we won't have that if we don't listen to what the medical experts have to say.
I agree, Joe. Well said. Hey, let's just speculate a little bit, okay? April 3rd comes. The CIF says, man, it's not under control. We just can't move forward. We gotta cancel the rest of the spring season, right? What do you see happening after that? Are you hearing anything about, is there another date that we'll be looking to look for God forbid, the summer, 2020 football season, Are you hearing anything regarding that?
Nothing concrete, Mark and Rick, because people really don't know. We don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know if it starts to really flatten. Mm-hmm. And I thought Ron Nachetti and the CIF did the right thing in not making a formal announcement because they don't have enough information. And, and I think what do we want for our student athletes is to have hope. And I think I would guess right now it's an extreme long shot that high school sports resumes this spring, unless we see something dramatic in the numbers going down in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And there's been discussion, people on social media, everybody's an expert on social media, where they say, well, then just continue the high school season right into the summer. I don't think you want to do that after kids have graduated. A lot of people move on. It's just too fragmented and disjointed. And even if the season were to start in a month from now, well, where do you start it? And, for high school sports in particular, in this state, and what if some sections, some parts of San Francisco, is it going to get better? Mm-hmm. It sounds, there's a lot of real concern everywhere, but in large and populated places like San Francisco or New York, if you're talking about other high school associations. But if we look further ahead, we're all optimistic for high school football, college football, NFL. It's such a great time for athletics as football season. And as we all know, for high school, a fun high school season really just energizes a campus. It could really boost a community, whether it's Del Oro or Del Paso Heights or El Dorado Hills or Grant or Burbank, Granite Bay. We just go on and on. Bear River, small school, medium school, large school, Auburn, and for Placer or up and down the state. It could be a big boost. And here's another layer. Let's say high school sports and sports in general resume. Well, how long are we going to adhere to the social distancing thing? Is that something that may just stay in place for months or years? Could you imagine sporting events where you can't, you have to turn people away because you don't want them sitting next to each other? I think at the very least, Mark and Rick, I think now has been the best wake-up call on just being smart. Wash your hands because it's a good idea. Sanitize, obvious things like our phones and our laptops and our doorknobs and, heavy populated areas. Let's put that into personal policy now, just to avoid any kind of virus or the flu or anything. So this is the educators, the superintendents, the executive directors, the coaches, the team captains are all trying to figure this out. And so the answer I give you today on that question, Mark, could be totally different in a week.
Yeah, you're right.
Or a month. Right. And, we'll see. And I know it's easy to, one thing I'd like to suggest is, people who are feeling really bummed and out of luck on high school sports or any kind of competition should think about the people in the hospitals who really have issues. We all may know somebody soon who has the coronavirus or has died of it as time goes on. So that's really the focus is on that right now. However, sports, as we all know, is a great inspiration. It inspires a lot of us. And just like your Honor Bowl over the years, you have powerful influence and inspiration. So maybe we could use that coming up with more answers on the coronavirus.
Yeah, no, well said, Joe. I mean, one of the things that I do when we go into the locker room.
How's that for the long-winded 4-minute answer?
I love it.
Get some!
I love it. Thanks, Rick, for that.
I should have said, hey, Mark, don't interrupt me, man. I just a semicolon in my paragraph. I got more material here. So no, we're all kind of lost right now. And it's I have my withdrawals. I like going out. You know what I do on my downtime sometimes? I like to go to a Sac State baseball game or Cosumnes River College baseball game or a baseball game at Rayleigh Field without a notepad, without a laptop, and just go as a fan and just relax. And so because I'm so used to having sports in my life and my environment, and there's still a story to be told. There's an old usher or somebody behind the hot dog stand. There's always people to talk to and stories to tell. Well, that's all on hold. And I think people wonder about mental health. How are people going to handle being cooped up? And
how are you doing
one
with
of these
it?
days I'm going to get tired of you, so I don't want to talk to Rick and Mark anymore. I'll just go walk in my backyard again a little bit.
That's what I was just saying. I mean, how are you doing with this, buddy? Because you're literally everywhere. I mean, you can't see you on Twitter where you're not somewhere or writing about something, or, I mean, how are you doing?
It's hard. I feel, I have friends who have lost jobs in the restaurant industry. I have other friends who own small businesses, and they're concerned about layoffs. And, this real life thing. I have, my stepmother is paramount in my life, and she's down in San Luis Obispo, but she's in her mid 70s and doesn't have great respiratory. So she's at a risk. She's fine, but she's a social creature who also likes to read and be, her downtime. But it starts, the more this goes on, the more it starts to hit home. But no, it's hard to do our job of storytelling only over the phone or over email. We're used to doing, because when you go in person, that's where you could find out more things. But we also understand what's going on here. And that's why I jumped on at the Sacramento Bee to help out on stories on education, or stories, human interest stories of people in the hospital wards and who they are and what they're going through. And they have powerhouse stories. And the best stories, as you guys know, is when people have something to say. And these good people have a lot to say. And they're speaking to a lot of people. And one thing the nurses are saying, the doctors are, listen to us, stay at home. We know what we're talking about. Their stress level, how do they unwind? And so there's a lot of that going on. I did a story the other day on the first weekend of the stay-at-home mandate, and I bounced around a couple of golf courses. And golf courses are still open, though the cafes are closed or the brew pubs are closed. And some of these old-time golfers in their 70s and 80s say, hey, this keeps me alive. It keeps me active. But business is down. And the other thing is I see a lot of people walking dogs, and what creature does not adhere to social distancing? Dogs. They don't comprehend that. They're up in each other's business front and back, and dogs don't listen. Dogs need to be together.
I hear you.
People need to be together. So there's, to answer your question, Mark, there's still stories to be told. And I don't know how we would have gotten by in the pre-internet era when you don't have social media means to get out and talk to people.
Yeah. I really believe after this is all over, said and done, and we're out, I think all of us are going to be better people from it. I think that we're all learning a valuable lesson on life and on relationships and the power of relationships. I mean, I was telling somebody today on a coaching call, I coach loan officers throughout the day, and I was telling them, I never knew my neighbors across the street had kids. Right? And now you see them out playing in the front yard, you're going, oh my God, I didn't even know they had kids. Right? So I think we're going to be better from this, Joe, and to hear what you are doing with the SAC-B and the human interest stories that you're telling, and getting out there and talking with the older coaches that have been around the block and could be, more than from their age demographic, be more, susceptible to this type of virus. That's people want to hear those stories and hear about how those people are doing, and hear about the nurses that want to graduate early so they can go and help and support and all that. I'm glad you're doing that, Joe. It just talks better.
And I appreciate that,
person you are,
Mark. And it's I think we have an obligation to do it. I'm curious about people in general, and that's what makes storytelling, fun for me, is not just a profession, but kind of a fun part of it. But it's also a responsibility and obligation for us in the media to tell as many stories as we can. We hear people saying, "Oh, it's entities like the Bee that's create all this hysteria." Not true. Not when we're out there reporting the hoarding of toilet paper or supplies at the grocery store. And I know the media is an easy target, but in cases like this, for the local TV, local radio, local, the Sacramento Bee or the Auburn Journal or the Elk Grove Citizen, everybody doing local stuff on what's going on in their immediate community. That's why journalism is very big. And we have friends across the country who do it in different walks of life in the media, and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Joe, what are you hearing from athletes that you talk to about what they're doing to stay in shape during this time? Are they doing a lot of home working out, or what are you hearing in regards to workout tips that some of the athletes watching this could grab and hear from you all?
Well, Mark, they're so used to working out together, whether they're high school kids, college kids, or guys getting ready for the draft, NFL draft or the NBA draft or whatever, and track and field, any sport. And, most of all these schools around here, I think up and down the state, no practice allowed. Everybody stay at home, but, you'll see some video clips here and there of somebody kicking 50-yard field goals, but he's the only one out there. As a kicker, you don't need 10 other guys, but it's nice to have 10 other guys just for, to be a team, to be united. So a lot of kids working out. I mean, kids can't even go to the school weight room, can't even go to the track. So that's been an adjustment. So, I think these mandates to stay at home mean you could go out in your neighborhood to go take a nice walk, but there's not a lot of blocking sleds out there in these trails that I've seen. So you don't see kids out there pulling a tire out there. So
hit an oak tree.
so it's been a tough adjustment for those guys. If you're a baseball player, not every garage has a batting tee. Mm-hmm. If you're a basketball player, not everybody has a hoop in their yard or on their street. And so they're it's an adjustment for everybody. We're going to dig into more of those. And, hey, how are you handling that? We had a little rain here, so people were going to stay in anyways. But as days become weeks, that's going to be more of an interesting thing, and how just people in general getting out and not losing your sanity. High school kids are they got a lot of energy. Well, people our age have energy, and seniors have a need to get out. So it's going to be – I think people all thought, Mark and Rick, that, okay, we could do the stay-at-home thing. It's kind of like a holiday thing. Everybody's at home. We're used to that for a day or so, not a whole week or 2 weeks or beyond. And so it's a challenge for everybody to figure out how to do it, but it's also a challenge to everybody to do their part and stay home.
They talked about postponing the Tokyo Olympics today for 1 year to 2021. And there's a young man that I follow who's actually been a tremendous supporter of the Honor Bowl. And at one time we were making these custom wristbands that we were selling at our event, just an added way to make money. Well, he was making the wristbands. Well, he's an Olympic swimmer. And I posted something about the delay of the Olympics going to 2021. And the mom came on and said, "Hey, Coach, this is a good thing, because they're struggling to work out because of the shutdown. He's an Olympic swimmer. He can't go to the pool. He can't be around a bunch of people, his coaches. So
they had to postpone it.
They had to. So it was because of a preparation thing. They couldn't prepare. Right.
And there's just not enough time to pull off the Olympics with massive crowds in the hundreds of thousands, and not to mention normally, when the Olympics come to any city in any country in the world, that's a huge population swell of tourism and all that.
From all over the world.
And people would, whether it's held in Los Angeles or Tokyo or Mexico City over the decades, you just can't have that right now. And that's a great point, as even if they tried to proceed, these athletes would not be ready. And if you're not ready as an athlete, conditioning-wise, that's when you get hurt. Yeah. That's when you tear hamstrings and those sorts of horrible injuries. So all of these athletes on hold, everything's on hold. And so like you asked earlier, are we going to have normalcy with football coming up? Well, we're in March now. Mm-hmm. We can only hope. We can only hope. And maybe the other answer is we've got to have all this normalcy back. It's good for our lives and our souls. So I'm optimistic. I think we're in a rough patch now, certainly, but we'll prevail.
I'm optimistic too, my friend. And I think that we are going to prevail. I think we're going to be a better people from it. I think all of us are going to learn and grow from this. And, man, I'm looking forward to 2020 football. And I know everybody's going to be ecstatic to be at those games because there's some great stuff going on in 2020. Joe, I can't thank you enough for taking time. I know you're a busy guy, and I really appreciate you coming on. Hey, can we do this again after we're back to normalcy?
You bet.
And, man, I would love to hear more about what everybody's doing to get back into the stroke of things. And I just wish you the best, my friend, and keep doing the good work that you do. I really mean that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Rick. And we'll be in touch. Better days ahead for sure.
Thank you for coming on the radio, Joe. God bless you, buddy.